Good, whenever you are, Jessica. Good evening, everyone. Call to order the Board of Variance meeting for January 7th, 2021 at 4 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed and video recorded for the public, and attendance for the applicants, the public, and most of the board members is via Zoom in order to keep with social distancing and minimize the number of people in the boardroom. Late items. We do have 2 late items for 2 separate applications. I just want to confirm that board members have received these. Yes? Yeah, we have 2 additional letters that came in an email this afternoon.
Oh, I didn't think I'd seen that. I don't think I saw the second one. I thought I saw one, but...
Okay, they were in the same email, so you might want to give a look at that, Alan, if it becomes relevant.
Okay.
And late items have been received. Let's talk about the agenda for today. Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda with the late items that have been introduced? Nelson has moved to accept the agenda. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. Everyone in favor? Great. Passed. Moving on to the minutes for the Board of Variance meeting from December 17th, 2020. We all have a copy of the minutes. I ask for a motion to move them unless there are any questions or amendments.
I reviewed the minutes and all approved.
All right, thank you, Darius. I've moved to approve the minutes. Could I have a second?
I'll second it.
Great, thanks, Alan. All in favor of the minutes? Excellent, thank you. All right, business taken care of. We can move on to presentations. Our first application this evening is the Board of Variance number BOV 744. The civic address is 5324 Kenwell Drive. The applicant is requesting a variance to locate a heat pump between the front of the principal building and the nearest front lot line. Zoning bylaw 4500 requires that a heat pump or central air conditioning unit be located to the rear or side of a principal building. And I'm just going to read the section 6.5.2, projections into yards, which also applies to this application. Where the principal use of the property is a single residential dwelling or duplex, heat pumps and central air conditioning units shall not be located between the front face of a principal building and the nearest front lot line, and shall not be closer than 4.5 meters to the side lot lines or closer than 3 meters to the rear lot lines. Heat pumps and central air conditioning units shall be screened from view from streets. So that's the bylaw parameters for zoning bylaw number 4500. Do we have someone here to speak to the application?
That'd be me, Scott.
Excellent. Hi, Scott. Did you want to talk to us a little bit more about your rationale?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it. So I think the your first question to me when we met with my hardship, and it's a funny question because, looking into the development of the property in the early 90s designated the side of Georgia View as my front yard. And I don't know if you can pay attention or bring your attention to the map that I submitted, printed from the city's website. And that shows my civic address is, of course, 5324 Kenwell. And but when it was developed the subdivision was developed in the 90s, I'm guessing, it designated my front yard as Georgia View. So any design or in application comes from the knowledge that Georgia View Crescent is essentially my front yard. So that's the concern I have for the question of hardship, which sounds funny. I know I'm just asking for a heat pump here, but in the design of the home restricts me me from what I want to do, and which I think is a fair request. As well, the location there serves to the best interest of my neighbors, surrounding. The elevation is quite a bit higher from the nearest neighbor, which would be 5311 Georgia View. If we think of essentially how my house is used for its intended purpose, my front yard is Kenwell. And I think the big revelation here is you're saying where I want to put my heat pump is my front yard, which is Georgia View. And essentially that's not how my house is used or designed. My front yard is Kenwell, and of course specific address is Kenwell. I'm asking to put it on the Georgia View side.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Members, questions, comments? How would you like to proceed?
Well, I took a look at it this afternoon, and it seems to me that it's perfectly sensible to place it where he wants to place it, and it's screened by a fence that can't be seen from the road. So I don't think there's a problem. The only problem was the city when they're trying to line up the house numbers.
Excellent, thank you. I wholly agree. My comment, which I directed to the city earlier today, was just the designation of front side. In the applicant's letter of rationale, the civic address is Kenwell Drive, but when you look at the house, the front of the house is clearly Kenwell for all practical purposes, and the Georgia View side looks like the side yard. I guess my question is, what is the rationale for the city to designate Georgia View as the front side, and what does that actually mean from the city? How is that prohibitive moving? Is it super arbitrary? Are there any other factors that make Georgia View relevant to be the front side?
Yeah, so it's not arbitrary. The way that we come to this conclusion is through the definitions of our lot lines.
Okay.
So, and the position of the house on the lot. So when we're taking a look at what we would consider the front or the flanking side yard, it depends on how the house is situated on the lot and which makes it the least amount of non-conforming. So in this case, in the R1 zone, we require a rear yard setback of 7.5 meters. So our bylaw states that the rear yard lot line is opposite from the front. So if we call Kenwell Drive the front, then this lot line would have to be the rear. The house does not meet a 7.5 meter setback here, which means this, Georgia View, if we call this the front, it would meet the front yard setback here, and it would also meet the rear yard setback here, because this would be the rear yard lot line. This would be a side, this is a flanking side, and this is a front. So it doesn't matter what the address is, and in most cases it doesn't matter which way the house is facing. It depends how the house is situated on the lot and what makes it the most conforming to the bylaw regulations.
Does that mean that this house was built and permitted prior to existing setback?
It may have it still meets the setback requirements.
Right, okay.
And the owner is free to, if they have two lots, depending on engineering's perspective, they can put the driveway on whichever street they want, as long as engineering approves it.
Right.
But it does meet the setback, so it's,
Okay.
yeah.
Totally makes sense. Would there be any other conflict with allowing a heat pump in the front yard or the flanking side yard, depending on what perspective? I mean, I do understand that it is why that is the front yard, but it kind of also looks like a flanking side yard.
It does, yeah.
But it's not.
But, yeah, the only reason why we call it a front is because it doesn't conform to, it's more conforming if we call Kenwell a flanking side and Georgia View the front. So, in the zoning bylaw, it says that heat pump needs to be screened from view of the street. So whether it's on Kenwell or whether it was on Georgia View, it would have required some sort of variance.
Okay.
And as well, that location is behind a fence already. As you know, Laney, I'm in the process of a building permit just to get approved by that. And the requirement was to actually put a fence there with Adrian, the inspector, so that's already been accomplished. I think
Through the chair,
just common sense kind of tells me that's the most reasonable location as well, and I think it's a very fair request.
I think the intent of the bylaw really, it was, I think, changed not that many years ago. And it was, I think it was mostly because of noise to neighbors and the noise that they create. So it seems to me that even though it's not meeting the definition of the bylaw, that it would be the best place for it anyway, if that's what we're talking about, which is noise. Much better to have that noise going towards the street, I believe, than it is towards the neighbors, which I think was the intent. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, thank you. And I did note on my my letter there, that is the furthest location from any of my neighbors as well. And I know one or two neighbors supported me. I don't know if I actually sent the email to your committee, but yeah, hopefully that can be acknowledged.
I also, through the chair, want to say, in terms, the reasoning for this bylaw, it was visibility and noise, which I think the both these are admitting with this proposal. Noise for neighbor, obviously this will be far from the neighbor compared to other options. And the visibility, because of the step and the retaining wall and the fence is located at the top of the retaining wall, visibility also is not issue. So I think in terms of the bylaw, we don't have an issue here. That's my thought.
Thank you.
It sounds like we are pretty settled with our conversation. Board members, any other questions or concerns for the applicants?
Okay.
And then everyone should have the standardized motions if somebody wanted to make a motion regarding this application. Yes, please, Nelson.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put one forward for, you want to use the standardized one, do we?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I move that the board approve application BOP 7044 to vary section 652 on zoning bylaw number 4500 in order to permit a heat pump between the front of the principal building and the nearest front lot line.
Great, thank you, Ellen. Would anyone like to second that motion? Nelson, thank you. All in favor? We have a unanimous decision. Motion approved. Application approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thanks, we'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, take care. If Alan didn't see the letter, I can pull it up and share it on the screen.
Okay. Should I ask about that after we start the application? Okay, great. All right, moving on to the second application this evening. DOB 00745. The civic address is 2198 Departure Bay Road. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a fence height of up to 2 meters within the front yard setback and within the required 7-meter setback for visibility at intersections. The zoning regulation. So, section 6.9.1 speaks to visibility at intersections. And this is under the City of Nanaimo zoning bylaw number 4500. Where two streets intersect, there shall be no obstruction to the line of vision between 1.2 meters and 3 meters within an area bounded by the center line of the intersecting lot lines and a line joining each of the lot lines 7 meters from the point of intersection. As well, section 6.10.2 speaks to fence height. The maximum height of a fence within the front yard shall not exceed 1.2 meters in height in the R1 zone. So this application is requesting a variance to allow the fence height up to 2 meters. Do we have anyone here to speak to this application?
Yes, we are.
Hi there.
Oh,
Now it's Connie.
Excellent.
we're Melvin and Connie Constant from, and we go by Mel and Connie.
Great.
And thank you very much for being here to hear our application this afternoon. Should we go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, Mel, will start.
Our house is located on Departure Bay Road where there is almost constant traffic, including many buses, trucks, and motorcycles on 4 lanes. The main entrance and main floor of our house is close to the street level. We find it very noisy and stressful. The noise and busyness make it difficult to enjoy being outside, gardening, talking, or even getting into and out of our car. It's hard even to greet guests or say goodbye to them because of the traffic noise. It is particularly noisy due to vehicles braking and accelerating at a traffic light at the corner of Departure Bay Road and Montrose Avenue. We'd like to build a 2-meter high fence inside our property line on Departure Bay Road, along the whole of our lot line bordering Departure Bay Road to reduce the noise and give us some privacy from the large volume of traffic.
So we've done some research and found that a 2-meter high concrete fence is our best option to reduce the noise. We've talked to 2 companies that build concrete fences and had information sent to us that says, one of the websites says, concrete fencing is a superior fence option for sound reduction. And the other website says, concrete greater mass reduces sound penetrating through a wall by more than 80% compared with wood or steel frame construction.
The variances we are requesting are, number 1 is 6.10 fence height, increase allowable fence height to 2 meters. The hardship with the height bylaw is that a 1.2 meter high fence is not high enough to help block the sound or sight of the constant traffic. Number 2, section 6.9, visibility at intersections. Please waive the requirement for a 7-meter distance from the corner section to height. The hardship of this bylaw is that although we are located on a corner, and this rule applies to us, the road right-of-way is greater than 11 meters from Montrose Avenue to our lot. Our proposed fence would meet the intent of the bylaw to not obstruct the visibility of the road. Please see the document entitled Aerial View.
So I think you all have this city map, the aerial view, and I just wanted to say that, so do you have that? Does everybody have that?
Yes, we do. It was part of our application package.
Okay, so Departure Bay Road is along here, and Montrose Avenue is along there. We're right on the corner, and you can see from that car approaching the intersection that our proposed fence, which would go along there, in no way is an obstruction for the visibility at the corner. So I also wanted to say from the same map that there's a lot of openness on our property from Montrose Avenue, and we're not planning to build a fence on Montrose. So the sidewalk on Montrose is much more inviting to pedestrian traffic than Departure Bay Road, because Montrose is quieter. Departure Bay Road is so noisy that it seems to us that basically anybody walking along there is just walking along to try to get somewhere, not for recreation or for relaxation. On the other hand, on Montrose, it's totally open to our property, and we interact with people on that side, visit with them all the time. And in fact, the Montrose side of our property functions more as the front of our property. We have 2 driveways and a sidewalk coming to our house from Montrose, and that, yeah, it's more like our front yard, and the Departure Bay Road side is more like the side, even though it technically is the front. And that's the noisy part, and where we would really like to have some relief from the constant noise of the traffic. So I guess I also wanted to say that we've gone to the houses all around us and talked to our neighbors, and we've talked to owners or tenants for each of the houses, and everybody except one is happy to support our application. So I hope we've been clear, but we're very happy, of course, to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you very much. I will turn the floor over to the board members for questions.
Thank you.
Okay, so your hardship in this, just really what we're talking about here, the hardship you're saying is what, is noise, is that right?
Well, yes, the hardship of the height bylaw is that the 1.2 meter fence that we would be allowed would not help with our noise situation which is from the traffic along Departure Bay Road. That's the hardship, is that the shorter fence would not be sufficient to help us with the noise. And the hardship on the other part of the bylaw is that it does apply to us because we're on a corner, that we would have to have the fence shorter from 7 meters on each side of the corner, but it doesn't really, the intent of that bylaw is to permit visibility, not to restrict visibility, but in our case, no visibility would be restricted by a higher fence because there's such a large setback from the Montrose Avenue to our property line.
So the fence that you're talking about I guess it would butt up pretty close to what's there already, which is those signs and stuff like that are out there. I think probably the subdivision, so their subdivision. Do
you mean that brick, the brick wall that's there? There would be a gap. Our property line falls short of that brick. That brick is totally on the property, and then there would be a gap before our fence would start because we're 11 meters back from Montrose.
What's your intentions with the trees? It's a fair amount of trees that are all along there already.
Most of the trees would stay, like there's a hedge, and we're not sure whether we would take the hedge out or leave the hedge. But as far as the actual trees, we've spoken with Patrick McIntosh, the urban arborist for the city of Nanaimo, and he said there should be no problem, but there's so the biggest, I guess, well, there's a couple of big trees, but there is some arbutus trees there, and one of those arbutus trees is dead or dying, and he said that should be taken out, but otherwise everything would be left.
So the intent of the bylaw really is for safety of the intersections, for the visibility. You can still go 1.2 meters, which I believe is about 4 feet in height. The other thing for me is that Departure Bay Road is a pretty busy road. It's one that people go back and forth all the time, all that kind of stuff. It's aesthetically, if you start putting 2 meter high fences up along front lot lines, you start to look like you're bunkering it in, right? So that's part of it too as well. I'm not so sure why you couldn't use a 4-foot high fence of some sort with a combination of trees behind or something to still achieve what you need to achieve. Most of your building that your houses appears to me to be the living areas are all on other areas other than along MacArthur Bay. So I'm not really seeing that noise level being affecting all the time when you're enjoying your house.
Our house is on the same level as Departure Bay Road, that we live mainly on the top level. There's 3 levels to the houses.
Yeah.
And we live mainly on the top level, and our which is on the same level as the street.
How long have you owned the home?
We just bought it last summer.
So were you not aware of the traffic at that time when you bought it?
Yes, we definitely were aware of the traffic, and we were hoping that we could do something to make it more enjoyable. It's mostly when we're outside and trying to do some gardening, even coming and going from the car, it's very noisy. And like I say, that side functions more as the side of our house rather than the front, because we are totally open, for, on the Montrose side.
Yeah. Did you ever, before you purchased, ever talk to the city about what your options were when it came to noise mitigation?
No, we didn't.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, actually.
Thank you.
I just wanted to
I just
ask,
like to echo Alan's comments. I think the intent of the bylaw is, first of all, safety. Safety is the corner is very important issue. And the second is the visibility and the presentation of the road. The Departure Bay, I moved in Nanaimo since 2006, and one of the best streets I've seen actually Nanaimo, that area impressed me with the bigger home sitting back and lots of front yard. And the concrete block you were showing in this presentation, thank you for information you provide, all very helpful. But those are like type of the highway, barrier, type of the noise barrier. I know concrete is the best because of the weight for the noise, but this is the urban type of the area, safety, and I understand, I think there is some maybe other way with the higher shrubs or higher things can be solved, but I also understand the 11 meters away from the Montrose Avenue, but still that intersection is a busy intersection. These 2 issues still I don't think so will be solved with that concrete wall. That's my opinion, sorry.
Of course, if we try to do it with vegetation, it will take years to come to any height that will help with the sound, I think.
thank you, Dariush, for your comments. Nelson, please.
So is this a proposed wall?
I was going to ask the same thing. Now, yeah, the picture that you've included in our package of the concrete wall, is that aesthetically what you're going for? Could you speak a little bit to, we know what you want concrete, and I think I agree with Dariush that that type of wall looks like it's built for highway sound on the side of the parkway or something, and not as a front or side yard wall for a residential neighborhood. So are you looking for something similar to what you pictured?
Well, we think it's attractive. It's called a stone finish, but we aren't definite about that. We would be open to a different kind of a fence. Probably the height is the most important thing, but we would be open to another type of a fence if that was considered not appropriate.
Okay.
No, we're not absolutely set on it. We thought that was quite nice. We've been to see what some of them look like, and we think it's quite attractive. But No, we're not definite about that. We could change it to a different type of a fence.
Okay, but, so in the case of this application, though, we're speaking to the height, and as it stands now, you are, due to your research, wanting to make that fence of concrete, as opposed to other materials which you said you've researched and realized they don't have the same effects you're looking for. So concrete it is for now?
Yes, that's what we were hoping to do.
Okay, and I just had a question about vegetation. In going through the Departure Bay neighborhood, there are just some wonderfully landscaped properties. Obviously, it takes a long time to establish that, but if you were to have a 2-meter high hedge, did you research as to whether or not that would provide adequate sound barrier as well? Or were you only looking for solid surface fences?
No, I did some reading, and they said that like sound travels through any open spaces. So in any kind of vegetation, there's a lot of space. One thing I read said you need basically about a 25-meter thickness of vegetation to provide the same kind of soundproofing, which of course is ridiculous, but 25 foot corridor of trees and vegetation. But in any case, I think, the shrubs, I think, will not provide very much help with the sound. Certainly the hedge we have there now doesn't. It's as though there's nothing there.
I have one more question to direct to staff, actually, and that is just the intent of the height of the fence. So the city of Nanaimo wants to keep the height of front yard fences at 1.2 meters as a maximum for, is it aesthetics, is it sound, is it continuity in neighborhoods, is it?
Yeah, it's a combination of all those, but as Alan and Darush hinted to, it's also for safety.
Okay.
But one of the main planning principles is to have permeability between the street and houses in the public and the private realm.
Okay.
So when we do smaller fences, it creates a connection between the pathway or the walkway where the public is and the private space where the houses are. So it's much more interesting to look at walk along the street where you can look at the houses, look at the landscaping, maybe even catch a view corridor through there, rather than looking at or walking next to high walls. And then of course there's also some other issues, septet issues, so safety, about, people could be hiding behind tall walls, or you could come across the wall and a car could come, things like that. And then of course, when people see big blank walls, they do want to spray paint or things like that. So that's the intent of the bylaw, is to create a connection between public and private to increase safety and interest in the street.
Okay. In my opinion, this proposal challenges all of the intents, because I didn't think about the consequence of safety, and yeah, that's I think that's an important issue, and vandalism for sure. Okay, thank you, Lady, for that. Nelson, I may have taken your question away. I apologize.
No, my question would be, and I didn't hear everything you said, but the height is the issue, but is the bylaw apply to all the lots, notwithstanding the particular street it's facing on, or side is on?
Respectfully, through the chair, all front yards, the fence height for all front yards in an R1 zone, this is the zone that this property is in, have a maximum height of 1.2 meters. So it's for all properties on a front, so wherever there's a street.
So in the Blair subdivision, which was built way back, I'm not sure whether it was built just before I came in 1969, and things were a lot quieter then, and there's a huge increase in traffic there and noise. So if the height is going to be consistent as a policy, it seems to me that there should be some arrangement that for those properties that are, right up against a high noise level to be modified. So there should be some splitting off of that, as far as I'm concerned, because the issue here really is the noise, and it's bad out there. It's very bad.
Yeah, just to continue respectfully through the chair.
Thank you.
We don't take into consideration the traffic volume or the type of road that it is. It's a flat, if it's a front lot line, the maximum height permitted is 1.2 meters. At this time, the zoning bylaw does not look at that.
Well, the bylaw needs an amendment.
Anybody else have, members, more questions, concerns, or comments for our applicants? Keeping in line with the issue at hand, which is the height of the fence at 1.2 meters. Okay, if we have no further comments, is there anybody else here not on the board to speak to this application? No? Okay, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anyone else. Well, if any board member was wanting to make a motion regarding this application, that would be great.
Well,
I'll make a motion.
Great, thank you, Alan. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, I move that the board deny application BOD 745 to vary section 691 and 610.2, the zoning bylaw number 4500, in order to permit a fence height of up to 2 meters within the front yard setback and within the required 7-meter setback for visibility at intersections.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to deny the application. Would any other member like to second that motion? Dariush, thank you.
Seconded.
Okay, so this motion's been seconded by Dariush. Please show your hands for all who supports this application.
do you want any more comments before we go?
Oh, if there were more comments, please.
Yeah, I won't support the motion for the reasons I've outlined. It seems to me that the applicants might make an application to the city for an amendment. The staff should consider an amendment to allow the increase in fences for sound mitigation in certain circumstances. So to apply everything as sort of a brand iron, and everything has to be the same when you have extenuating circumstances, it seems to me there should be some modifications. And I would encourage the applicants to get a hold of the planning staff or whatever and see if they can work to get some change to the bylaw.
I'd like to also say, myself, I'd like to say that I believe that the Board of Variance is here to act on the hardships. And there is other avenues. If this was to fail, there's avenues through the development variances through City Council. That's another avenue to go. So it's not like you have to. There is another way to possibly make your case.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for those comments there, and very productive in regards to this application. So moving forward, anybody else? Are we good to vote on? Could I see a show of hands in support of the motion, which is to deny the application? Nelson, no?
Deny?
Yes. Okay, so we have everybody in favor of the motion, and your application has been denied.
You know,
Okay, thank you anyway.
no, I wanted to vote against the motion.
Why don't we try this again?
Okay.
Alan, if you wouldn't mind making the motion one more time, and we'll need a second, and then you'll call for those in favor to deny the application, and then those who are opposed to the motion to deny the application.
Thank you. All right, once more, Alan, could we have a written motion?
Yeah, okay. I move that the board deny application BOD 745, Variance section 691, and 2, zoning bylaw number 4500, in order to submit a fence height of up to 2 meters within the front yard setback and within the required 7-meter setback for disability of the reception.
Excellent, thank you. And could we have a second? Dariush? Excellent, thank you. Okay, may I have a show of hands for all of those who are in support of the motion, which is to deny the application? Thank you. And show of hands of those who are opposed to the motion to deny the application? Thank you, Nelson. Unfortunately, the verdict is the same. The application has been denied. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. Sorry. All right, our final application for this evening is BOV 00746. The civic address is 30 Mount Benson Street, and the applicant requests a variance to the City of Nanaimo zoning bylaw number 4500. Which requires a minimum front yard setback of 6 meters and a minimum side yard setback of 3 meters in the R8 zone. In order to renovate an existing non-conforming building and increase its height by approximately 1 meter, the applicant is requesting the following: a front yard setback of 5.05 meters and a north side yard setback of 2.14 meters. This represents front and side yard setback variances of 0.95 meters and 0.86 meters respectively. Thank you. Do we have anyone here to speak to this application today?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello, hi.
Hi, my name's Don Saywell.
Oh, hi Don.
Hi, and I'm speaking on behalf of 30 Mount Benson, the Robinsons.
Okay.
So as you read in that paragraph, presuming that that building was constructed back in its day to the coordinates of existing setbacks back then, what we're trying to do is reconstruct that side of the building to upgrade it to the DCBC and the seismic, and not have to obviously demolition the foundation.
Okay. Yes. Are we able to take the discussion to the board members, or did you want to speak any more to the application before we start our conversation?
No, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Please.
Nelson, please.
Yeah, I went by this afternoon to take a look at it, and and on the aerial photo, there's like 2 wings, or, so you're looking at what, a single family dwelling here?
I had the same question. Okay.
So, any idea when this was constructed? Originally?
Original construction
Yeah.
would have probably been the 60s.
I just had the impression it was an apartment building when I went by. And I'm a member of Probus and go up and down that road quite often for the meetings when we had them. And I always thought that that was an apartment building, not a single-family dwelling.
Well, it's not a single-family dwelling. The front section of that property has 4 dwellings in it, but when it was constructed by the original owners, the side that we're going to be upgrading is a single suite.
So the elevation along Newcastle is one private residence? Is that
The
correct?
elevation across Newcastle would be 2.
Okay.
But we are going to be refurbishing the entire building.
Okay.
So it will look exactly as the drawing that's just come up.
Now, is it the Newcastle portion of the property that's being renovated, or is the multi-story portion of it also being renovated?
Sorry if that's not clear. It is just the single suite that is on the right-hand side from Newcastle.
Okay.
And that's a double suite. You're saying there's one on each side of that, is that right? Each driveway takes one?
That's the single suite, and then in the elevation from Newcastle, the other single suite beside it has a separate under the floor garage, just as that one. That's it.
Yeah, so there's one on each side of that, is that right? There's a
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're renovating the whole, basically renovating the front of that building.
We're through the development approval. We are renovating the front and the side, of course, for each side and the back of that building. New roof and all that. So yeah, the whole building's will look absolutely new.
So that building went through development permit quite recently, didn't it, within the last month or 2?
Yes, it went through a couple of months ago, and what came to note through the BP, the building permit, was that there was, because it breached a front and a side yard setback, that it had to go to the Board of Variance, which probably should have been noted about a year and a half ago when we started the DP, but it came up now, so we're dealing with it now.
Yeah, I was wondering why you didn't do a variance at the same time you did the development permit, yeah.
Well, that's what you would normally do, but it came up now, and
So is this building coming closer to the road than what it is now?
No, everything stayed the same. That's the
Okay, it's the same, it's just being, okay, I didn't know about the front entranceway, I thought maybe that was being changed.
No, nothing to the building is coming any forward than it exists right now.
So, just a question. A question to...
I think it's just... Go ahead.
A question to clarify then is that existing foundations are to remain the same, and there's no projections or changes to the facade that would further encroach into the setback in question.
No, everything at the front and the side stays the same. The reason I believe that this came up is because we're raising the roof approximately 1.2 meters.
Yeah.
Now, is that within allowable existing heights, or is...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. There's we could go way up. You could take that whole building down and go up 3 stories.
Okay. So essentially, the building is existing non-conforming, and you are just requiring
Correct.
variance in order to allow it to be conforming in order to complete your building permit.
Correct.
Great. Thank you for my questions. Dariush, would you like to speak?
I do have a question. Just the extent of the renovation is just the exterior wall. It's nothing interior. It's not a matter of this board, but just want to be clear, because sometimes you see the renovation, they go all the way to the foundation, entire building, and new building in existing foundation, but here we're just seeing the exterior wall.
Well, we're gonna do the inside of it, for sure. So the renovation's gonna be internal and external. So internal, internally, we are going to be taking, all the asbestos and all that out of the inside, and then rebuild the inside, rebuild the outside.
And because it's gonna go through the DP and building permit, we'll be dealing with all the EC building code issues, opening and all that type of issues.
Correct.
I don't have any more questions, thank you.
Great, thanks, Dariush. Nelson, would you like to comment on this application again?
No, I'd like to move the motion.
Okay. Would anyone else like to make a comment regarding this application? Alan, Dariush, are we good?
Yeah, we are good, yeah, thank you.
Nice location, that place.
Isn't that a beautiful location?
Yeah, I like that. I'm actually not too far from my house, and it's, I like that place, and it's kind of a great spot there, you know.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, that's why we decided to do the whole facade. Well, I didn't. The owners decided to do the whole facade, which is gonna look fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you, everybody. I think Nelson would like to make a motion.
I move that the board approve application BOV 746 to vary section 7.5.1 of the zoning bylaw number 4500 to allow a front yard setback of 5.05 meters and a north side yard setback of 2.14 meter in order to renovate an existing non-conforming building and increase its height by approximately 1 meter.
Excellent, thank you. We have a motion to approve this application. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Alan will second. Excellent. Any further comments? If we're ready to vote then, could I see a show of hands for those in favor of the motion? The motion is passed unanimously and the application is approved.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Have a
Matt.
good day.
Have a great night.
Okay, well, I'm going to draw the meeting out just a little bit longer. We have one more issue, other business. I wrote Lainey, so this is just for the board members. I wrote Lainey a message earlier today in regards to the letter that we received as an additional item from Richard Finnegan, which was the letter that was not in support of the second application. His first comment says that the bylaw requires at least 7 days notice, and this is less than 3. So the point that the gentleman brings up is that he feels like he did not get adequate notice for this application, and therefore the application should be postponed. And my question to Lainey is, I don't know how to deal with that in terms of whether or not we do just by default postpone it because there was an issue with notification, or how to proceed. So I would direct this to staff to let us know how to deal with this bylaw.
Sure, so in this specific case, what had happened was, I'll speak to the bylaw requirements first. So the Board of Variance bylaw does require, maybe actually I think I have it up here. Oops, sorry, 2 seconds. I'll just bring up the section of the Board of Variance bylaw that speaks to this. Yeah, notice of hearing. So in the Board of Variance bylaw, it says not less than 7 days before the hearing of an appeal under section 901 of the Local Government Act, notice of the hearing to all owners and occupiers of lands that is subject of an appeal or within 10 meters. So it doesn't say specifically whether it needs to be delivered 7 days before or if it needs to be mailed 7 days before, but and it's a little bit vague, and that's maybe something that we need to look at to clarify a bit more, but the Local Government Act, the section that it is referring to here, which has actually been updated now, this is the old Local Government Act number. But anyways, it says that as long as the board gives its best efforts to mail or otherwise deliver the notice, then we have met our statutory requirements. So in this specific case, we mailed the notices on December 23rd, and we also posted it to What's Building in My Neighborhood, which is an online application that anybody can go and search an address and take a look at active applications. So we posted it on December 23rd, which is more than 14 days, so 2 weeks before this meeting. So we made our best efforts to mail or otherwise deliver the notice, which is why we did not remove the application from the agenda. However, had the board felt that there was an adequate notice, then there may be an option maybe to make a motion to postpone it. For whatever reason we choose, but you have to give a reason why. So either, maybe there's not enough information, you always have the opportunity to postpone. Maybe there's not enough information, or you do not feel the statutory notification was met.
Okay, that's awesome. In looking at that bylaw as well, it says 10 meters. But the address for this gentleman is actually at Terminal Ave. I suspect that's a lot more than 10 meters from the subject property.
Well, it actually says 10 meters or the width of an abutting road plus 10 meters. So he, or this property owner in question, is within the 10 meters because we include the road. So we basically just extend it past the road and then 10 meters from there.
Okay. I didn't look at where that address actually was, so I didn't know that it could even fall within physical.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
I think it was across. Oh, sorry. The address on the letter was actually that person's business address. It wasn't their property address.
Okay. So, I mean, if you wanted to get really, nitpicky, and that's the only address that we had to go on, that automatically doesn't apply. The notification doesn't apply if this is the address he's using, but obviously he is within. You know that he is actually within the...
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. That's all I had. Any other comments regarding it? I was only concerned as the chair that if somebody showed up to a meeting and had this comment as a means of wanting to postpone or to not want to support the application, what grounds we had, what action we should take. And Lane has answered that question. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that, I saw that myself, and I sort of took that the city would have pulled that or let us know if that had been an issue, but I know that's how I felt anyway. I was kind of curious about the second letter. You said it was somewhere, but I haven't seen that second letter. What was that for?
Alan, you did have this one, right? The application that was not, the letter that did not support the second application?
Yeah, I got that one. I didn't ever see the other one.
It was one line.
It was one line. Very short.
Oh.
And supporting the first, it was supporting the first.
I didn't see it. Maybe it was too short.
But I guess the conclusion is city will review if that type of letter received, and if there is not meeting the bylaw, automatically removed from the agenda. Or we have to, as a member, we have to say, postponing. Which one is that? Is it?
Respectfully, through the chair, if staff found that the statutory notification was not met, we would talk to the Legislative Services Department just to confirm that it wasn't met. So yeah, in this case, I did look into it to make sure that it was met and that we did make a reasonable effort. But if for some reason it wasn't met, we would talk to the Legislative Services Department to see what our options were, and likely it would have to be pulled from the agenda and then go to the next one when we can meet the statutory notification requirements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Lainey. Any other business to attend to or comments tonight? Or if not, we can adjourn, and someone can make a motion to adjourn if that's what we're going to do.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Alan. Second? Darius, thank you. All in favor to say goodnight?
Good night.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good night.
Thanks, Peter.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too.